Let's just get to it. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, so let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the studios of the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the April 22nd, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right, it is draft week. It is a huge one. Reminder, we're going to do our show on Wednesday. Then we're going to come back post-draft night one, and do about a 15-minute show in the Ram Cave, not on the set here. And then we're going to come back, do the same thing on Friday, and it looks very much like we're going to do the same thing on Saturday. Now, those shows will be more in the 15 to 20-minute range, recap. And then when we get to Monday next week, this time next week, we'll also have a handle on all those UDFAs. And again, I that's really critical. Who are those undrafted free agents the Rams snag? And again, Alaric Jackson, right? And some of these other guys that are floating around out there. You know, Coleman Shelton made a couple of stops before he came to the Rams, undrafted free agent. Darius Williams made a stop in Baltimore before he signed with the Rams as a free agent. He was also undrafted. So a lot of stuff to round up by this time next Monday. And we're going to try the unique thing of going live after the draft. I'm not going to go live during the draft. That's no bueno. I don't think that's going to work. I think you guys need to watch the draft and enjoy it without me getting in your way. All right. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but it does bear mentioning Roman Gabriel. It's so ironic that we were talking about him, was it Friday last week, maybe Wednesday? And I believe some of you longtime Ram fans actually asked me, did I see Roman Gabriel play? What did I think of Roman Gabriel? And I said, Gabriel was more of a legendary player to me that I heard about. I never saw Roman Gabriel. I thought about this over the weekend. I was at the Dodgers Mets. I saw all three Dodger Met games. Go Mets. And I got texted on Saturday that Roman Gabriel had passed away, and I just thought it was ironic since we had just been talking about him. And I started thinking about, because I knew I'd be late to the party. Everyone's coming out with their Roman Gabriel stuff, and that's okay. That's cool. But I never saw Roman Gabriel make a great play. Our good friend Steve Ramirez probably has, but I never did, because by the time I came to the Rams mid-season in 72, that was probably Gabriel's worst year. It was just probably everything was falling apart. The collapsed lung. He had all kinds of issues during that 1972 year, let alone season. He talked about how his arm was sore. There was even some stuff where Gabriel's quoted as saying the Rams thought he was faking it, right? And so you knew he was going to get moved after John Hadl was acquired, and then of course he was. But it was an incredible trade, Klosterman deal, when the Rams sent him to Philly. Now the good news for that was, and it's not talked about too often, is Gabriel's 73 campaign was off the charts. He had a great 1973 season, and he put Harold Carmichael and USC tight end Charlie Young on the map, and so. Yeah, he bears mentioning. When I think of Gabriel, first, it's a great name, right? It's a double first name, Roman Gabriel. I've known a Roman and I've known a Gabriel, right? And so it's so unique. It's like you can't say Bart Starr without saying Packers. You can't say Unitas without saying Colts. And honestly, Roman Gabriel is as synonymous with the Rams as any of those. Van Brocklin, the Dutchman, is great, right? But he won a title with the not the Vikings. He coached the Vikings with the Eagles. Waterfield, yeah, but man, you got to go back to 1945 and 1951. we're coming up to 80 years on all those things. You could talk about guys that match up, and even Matthew Stafford. He's still a Lion, kind of. Kurt Warner went to the Super Bowl with the Cardinals. So they're not as synonymous. But Roman Gabriel as a Ram, it's like, yeah, it's just that name. And of course, he was in LA, and good for him. Like the Fearsome Foursome guys, he took advantage of it. We loved John Wayne's Undefeated that Gabriel was in. And so, yeah, it was kind of sad, that he passed away, because he was always there. And we know it was his son that was on social media trying to get his dad a look at the Hall of Fame. And some people rated him the third best NFL quarterback of the 60s. But he just didn't get that big signature win in the postseason. And it's a shame to think that maybe, man, what if the Rams had gotten into Super Bowl II or Super Bowl IV, or if the playoff system was a little more wide open in 68 when they won, what did they win? I think 10 games, 11 games, and they didn't make the playoffs. What could the Rams have done? Of course, you had Lombardi in the way, but and Hank Stram at the end of Super Bowl IV in the way. But, if he could have just pulled off something there, I think he'd already be in the Hall. But I just think he's one of those guys that is just a little bit short of the Hall. And I'll argue that, there's some guys in the Hall that shouldn't be there. And Gabriel's probably better than them. But they got in because they played in a period where you could watch football more often, and it was a bigger deal. And Gabriel's, even in Los Angeles, Gabriel was still kind of a niche guy, because we love him, but it's not as big around the football world as it is here. So rest in peace, Roman Gabriel. And I can say thanks for the memories, because I see the highlights, and I remember them talking about how hard he threw a ball. It was too hard, and he had to learn to adjust like that. But let me tell you one thing that was interesting. I was on a Rams board, and I don't think I shared it here. How much did the Rams believe in Roman Gabriel after drafting him second overall in 1962? Same draft where they got Roland Olsen, number 3 overall. They got Gabriel second overall in 62 out of NC State. They believed in him so much, they drafted quarterback Terry Baker out of Oregon State, number 1 overall in 1963. As a lefty, he was a great athlete, but he couldn't throw the ball. Within a season, he was a wide receiver. And the Rams believed so much in Gabriel, even after they messed up drafting Terry Baker, number 1 overall, they drafted Bill Munson in 1964 out of Utah State, number 7 overall. 3 quarterbacks drafted in the top 10, one number 1, one number 2, and one number 7. And that Munson pick was in 1964. Rams didn't have a clue as to what they were doing. And thankfully, when George Allen arrived, he put an end to this foolishness and installed Gabriel as quarterback in 66, and the rest is history. And it was really funny. Rams had their first winning record in ages in 1966, and then everything kind of took off from there. But yeah, those guys are gone. That generation is gone. But yeah, they sure didn't believe in Roman Gabriel. And again, thank goodness for George Allen, right? That guy knew football. Just a sidetrack to that, the Rams ended up dealing Bill Munson to the Lions in May of 68, and they picked up some pieces. Pat Studstill, Milt Plum. But they also, when you think of George Allen trading away draft picks, that trade, they netted an 8th overall first-round pick in 1969 for Bill Munson. Yeah, for Bill Munson. Of course, they spent it on Larry Smith, but it was still a first-round pick. And how bad was that stretch for the Rams from 62 to 64, where they're drafting 3 different quarterbacks in the top 10? The team didn't draft another quarterback in the first round until Sam Bradford in 2010. That's right. John Hadle, James Harris, Ron Jaworski, Pat Hayden, Joe Namath, Vince Ferragamo, Burt Jones, Dieter Brock, Steve Bartkowski, Jim Everett, TJ Rubley, Chris Miller, Chandler, Tony Banks, Warner, Bulger. None of those guys were first-round picks by the Rams. And so they didn't draft another quarterback in the first round for something like 36, 37 seasons. Just a little sidebar to that. But rest in peace, Roman Gabriel. Okay, what I had planned on opening the show with was right there in the notes there, talked about the 4th-round pick that got away on this day. And I brought it up about 10 days ago. On April the 11th, the Rams had signed in 1975 a journeyman kicker named Grant Guthrie. It doesn't do anything to affect the price of lettuce, but it just tells you how desperate the Rams were for a kicker. They moved off of David Ray. His back kind of went out late in the 74 season. And so they signed Grant Guthrie and they traded a 4th-round pick on this day to the Philadelphia Eagles for Tom Dempsey. Yeah, that Tom Dempsey, who most of us know him, but the younger generation doesn't know Tom Dempsey. It's really surprising. Hollywood makes movies out of everything now, right? How come they never made a Tom Dempsey movie? And if they did I miss it? Tom Dempsey was born birth defect, had a shortened arm, and he had half a foot. But he used that half a foot like a major club. And of course, he kicked the gold standard, the 63-yard field goal that beat the Detroit Lions. I think it was in 69. And that's how everyone knew who he was. And so the Rams made the deal. They sent the 4th rounder to the Eagles for Tom Dempsey. And that was really cool. We were all excited. Tom Dempsey, that guy. We thought he was a great kicker. Tom Dempsey was an NFL kicker. He's better than Grant Guthrie, better than Sam Sloman, Lucas Haversack, or Brett Maher. But he was an okay kicker. He wasn't a great kicker. Of course, I'll always remember, Dempsey giving the old college try after that kick was blocked in the 1976 NFC Championship game, and Bobby Bryant's racing the other way for a touchdown. And you see Dempsey trying to track him down, and of course that was not going to work. But anyway, they sent that 4th-round pick to the Eagles. Rams got Dempsey. That 4th-round pick, 4 months later, the Eagles traded to Green Bay for a journeyman named Bill Luke. And then the Packers held on to that pick until the following season. In April of 76, they sent John Hadle. Remember, John Hadle was with the Rams and then ended up in Green Bay in 74. They sent John Hadle and Ken Ellis, who had been a highly regarded cornerback punt returner, who was with the Rams in 79 from that Super Bowl run. The Packers sent him, John Hadle, a 3rd-round pick in 1977, and that 4th-round pick in 1976, the one that originally belonged to the Rams. They sent it all to Houston for Lynn Dickey. I'm a big Lynn Dickey fan, okay? Hold it with me here. Don't leave. Lynn Dickey was pretty good quarterback. And so Houston got that 4th-round pick that came from the Rams via Philly, via Green Bay, and they drafted an undersized wide receiver out of Tulsa that they eventually waived. They waived him. And then they brought him back because the Seahawks likely put a claim in for him, or did put a claim in for him. And Seattle ended up sending an 8th-round pick to the Houston Oilers for a future Hall of Fame wide receiver named Steve Largent. Wow, right? And so the key to that was, and I'm going to get to your questions, guys, here in a second. The key to that was, of course, was the fact that it was a 4th-round pick. So we're going to see some strange trades, right? We're going to see some strange trades tomorrow or throughout this week. And it's like, don't dismiss those swaps and picks. Don't dismiss that 6th-rounder or 7th-rounder the Rams got for Allen Robinson, who turned into Jason Taylor last year. Maybe Jason Taylor becomes something special for the Rams down the road. You just never know. And I don't think anyone thought twice about a 4th-rounder in 1975 on this day for Tom Dempsey. No, I don't think anyone did. And it turned out to be Steve Largent. So wanted to get that in there. I'm going to take our break now because it is kind of draft stuff. And I got on late today, guys. I apologize. The traffic in LA is inhuman. But I am Joe Torres, and I'm a sports writer for 21 years. Now I do RamView, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. And I write books. And I want to say thank you because I got notified. I'm getting another royalty check because you guys have bought some of my books, and I'm sure it was you. And I just want to say thank you. Please check them out. If you have any questions about any of my books or my titles, they will belie that not only am I a football guy, I was a sports writer because I've written 2 high school football novels, but also I'm a Christian pastor a Nazarene church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. You can find us right here on YouTube at BurbankFaithVirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, and of course all across social media on Burbank Faith Virtual. Okay, let's go to the questions. I got some on the board here, and I don't care where they're at. That's okay. I know Tim Burns said he was going to give me a hard time today, but here we go. Manuel Correa, what's up? Right, rest in peace, Roman. Yeah, I just said the same thing, right, bro? Isn't that funny? We were just talking about him, and he passed away. Tim Burns, rest in peace. Roman. Manuel Correa. Mine was the playoff loss to the Vikings. Is that where you were introduced to him? Our friend Steve Ramirez, that's his initial pain as a Ram fan. He talks about it quite a bit. I just see the highlights, and that game, there's a guy on YouTube that restores and re-enhances these games that they look like they're being broadcast now. His name is David Volsky. I encourage you, check him out on YouTube. He just has amazing stuff, and he can draw you in because you're not watching something that looks like it's been recorded again and maybe filmed off TV. It looks like you're watching the live broadcast. He does a fantastic job. Rob Sorge. I've seen Gabriel a few times at the Coliseum. Steeler fan Rob, believe it or not, when the Rams wore blue and white, was a Ram fan. There you go. That's our connection. Tim Burns. If we're continuing to evolve gap blocking, do we have what we need at the two tackles? Havenstein, absolutely. And I think, again, that's kind of a give and trade, right? Or give and take. Your right tackle is your Mauler. Your left tackle generally is just a little more ballet, right? Your right tackle is Joe Frazier. Your left tackle is Ali. And I think we'd like to see a little bit more out of Alaric Jackson as far as drive blocking. But right now it looks pretty good, though, with that, 900 pounds of beef the Rams have at center and the guard spots for Stafford in the running game. But and I think that's what they're doing. I think that's why they got Jonah Jackson. I think they know what they got in Avila and this evolving to this gap. I like it much more. I like the bang bang a lot more than the developing pick your hole and go. Let's see. Sorge, I saw the 1970 game against the Lions. George Allen's last game. Were you there? I think you said that. Yeah. That was a heartbreak. The Lions were always shafting the Rams. 69, 70, 72. The Lions were always getting the better of the Rams in those days. Paul Kistler, thank you so much, sir, for clicking on. I saw Roman play several times. My first watch was in 69 against John Unitas. I was a huge Roman Gabriel fan. That's pretty cool. I think what you mentioned there, Paul, because of John Unitas, the Rams and the Colts were in the same division before the merger and all that stuff happened in 70, all came about. They were, I think it was called the Coastal Division. So the Rams faced the Colts twice, and that was a serious rivalry. And you used to hear a lot about that. You don't hear it much anymore, but man, I envy you getting to see some of that. Manuel Correa, I'm ready for the draft. Left tackle, then Jonah Ellis at number 52. Okay, man, I promise we'll be talking some draft stuff here in a minute. Tim Burns, Jimmy G is playing for 1 year, $4.5 million. Pedestrian amount for a backup quarterback. And if the Rams are confident in him, that's cool because we know he's got a ton of starts under his belt. Jimmy G starts in Green Bay last year. We win that game. Rams are 11-6 going at the end of the season instead of 10-7. I'm okay with Jimmy G. I wanted Wentz, but if the McSneed organization believes more in Jimmy G, then I'm going to dance with Jimmy G. I just think you can go 5 games with Wentz better than you can go with Jimmy G 5 games. But I'm just Joe T. All right. Tim Burns with lots of edges and lots of cornerbacks. All right, here we go. How about number 19 at 19, Knicks quarterback, number 52, Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, and then 83, Xavier Thomas, edge, Clemson, Nehemiah Pitchett, cornerback, Auburn. Ooh, okay. I have not heard the Nehemiah guy. I've not heard that name. Adonai Mitchell was actually climbing up some boards I saw. If you get Adonai Mitchell at 52, if he's there at 52, then I think you've got to draft him. The whole quarterback thing, right? Weren't we talking about this, Mr. Burns? That whole quarterback thing, how suddenly, you're hearing buzz that the Rams are looking to move up or do something to grab a quarterback. I could be wrong, but that feels like a bit of misdirect, or as we used to say, politely Bolshoi. And it doesn't feel right. I don't know. It just, because again, the Rams have a window. It's a 2 to 3 year window right now. And I just don't see drafting a quarterback to have him sit for 2 years when you can give help to Matthew Stafford right now. Now, if a Nix, Penix, even that Pratt guy from Tulane, which one of you guys turned me on to, that a lot of people are hot for right now, if that guy's at 52, I'm not going to complain. But at 19, I want somebody that can help the Rams now. At 52, 83, 99, I want somebody that can help the Rams now. And I'll give up one of those last 3 picks in the first 100. I'll give up 52, 83, or 99. I'll give up one of those picks for a quarterback that we develop. But I want this window to be exploited because, it's going to be lean a little bit when Stafford goes away. I'm sure the Rams will figure it out, but I don't know. And I like Nix. I like Penix. And I know I've been saying it's really hard to pass on one of those guys at 19, but I don't know. I just get the feeling whatever happens, the Rams are going to do something different, right? And everyone's going to say, "Oh, I never saw that coming." And the people who speak untruth, they're going to say, "Yeah, I knew it all along." USA expat Jan Stenerud and Ray Guy, 2 great kickers from my generation, and they're both in the Hall of Fame. Jan Stenerud, I think people know about. Ray Guy was a game changer, absolute game changer as a punter. I got to see some of his first games. I saw his preseason game against the Rams in '73, and it was insane. I mean, it was absolutely insane. And I think he was their emergency quarterback until Marcus Allen got there. But Ray Guy is boom. That's it. Everything should be the Ray Guy Award when it comes to punters. I know there was Gerald Wilson, and I know there was other guys that were out there, but really no one was like Ray Guy. Let's see, Manuel Correa, no Bo Nix. If Bo Nix was at 52, would you take him? Now, I know he's not going to be there, but if he was at 52, would you take him, Manuel Correa? I don't think I want to move up into the mid-30s for a quarterback either. If I'm going to move up, trade 52 and 83 to get to 34, 35, 36, I want to get something that can help in this window now. That, to me, it's all about this window now. Willie Bowen, Roman Gabriel, and the Fearsome Foursome are the reason why I am a Ram. I'm a fan of the LA Rams. There you go, man. You grew up, right? Hard to break ties. Isn't it funny, though, when people remember the blue and white, they remember the all white with the blue trim. And I know my brother and our friend down the street, they hated it when the Rams wore the blue. It was always the white that they liked the best. It's looked the best, right? And you know what made it look good, too? All the grass stains and mud and everything on it. I used to love that. Let me ask you something, Mr. Bowen, since you were there. Did it feel the same after Rosie Greer left? Did Roger Brown feel like a Fearsome Foursome member? Did Coy Bacon feel like one as he stepped in after Lamar Lundy faded? I'd be curious to know what some guys thought. It was like the Legion of Boom, right? As was it Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and all those guys went on, the Legion of Boom feeling kind of went away. Manuel Correa, cool. Thanks for the info. Okay, happy to supply it. I hope I gave it to you right. Let's see. Willie Bowen. The LA Rams don't need wide receivers. They need DT, edge, defensive pass rusher, offensive left tackle, or power fullback and kicker. But you wouldn't take a receiver, Mr. Bowen? Again, Kupp is getting long in the tooth. He's in his 30s. He's had 2 injury-riddled years. Nakua plays a physical game. Demarcus Robinson is in the last year. Tutu Atwell's in his last year. Maybe not number 1, but would you take a receiver at 52? I think I would. I think we need to come away with a receiver in the first 100. Manuel Correa, J.C. Latham or Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Latham's Alabama. Manuel Correa says at 19. I'm not going to argue with it. But, I think the team, I don't know if the team is down on Alaric Jackson. Is the team down on Alaric Jackson? I think they would have known looking at this draft that, and then they reconfigured Joe Noteboom that, maybe they think they can get another year out of him because is this guy going to start? To me, if you move up for Joe Alt, as some people are talking about too, if you move up for Joe Alt better play day one at the 5th overall pick or the 7th overall pick. Joe Alt better play day one. But J.C. Latham or Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. Now, the last guy the Rams drafted to be a tackle out of Oklahoma was Bobby Evans. Not to put a rain on anyone's parade, but is that what you want? I want somebody that's going to produce now. And I think the Rams believe in Alaric Jackson. Call me crazy. I could be completely wrong, and I'm not going to be upset if they draft somebody at offensive tackle. Tim Burns, I saw that Bo Nix's dad and Snead know each other. That's making me think about it. Man, I hope that, yeah, I saw that too. And I hope that's not what happens. I hope. Now, again, if Bo Nix is at 52, outstanding, right? If the Rams trade back and end up at, number 25 and they pick up another second rounder or something, okay, maybe. But man, I want someone's going to help us now. Is anyone sensing my urgency today? I'm feeling very urgent. I think because I was stuck on the freeway. Manuel Correa, I like Penix. Willie Bowen. Okay, you're not too worried about. I think that's the wide receiver question. Oh, you would take a wide receiver in the later rounds. Well, it's a deep wide receiver draft. The first mock we looked at that was 7 rounds. 21 wide receivers went in the first four rounds, 17 in the first 100. So odds are you can find a guy. And where did they find Puka? So I'm not going to say you're wrong, Mr. Bowen. I'm not going to say you're wrong at all. Willie Bowen, I'm biased toward the royal blue and mustard yellow forms of the LA Rams. Oh, going back to the to the 50s. Yeah, those look pretty good. I got no problem with those. I didn't like that all mustard look. I don't know. I didn't like that all mustard look they did for Thursday night color schemes and stuff. I wasn't a fan of that. Manuel Correa, only because Alaric is on a 1-year contract. Yeah, I get it. I get it that he's only on a 1-year contract and such, but that's a good reason. I think it's what you think could happen. They give him a cheap contract now and break the bank for him next year. I don't know. And of course, you get a top line left tackle now. What do you do with him, right? I just want to make sure if the guys draft somebody, Rams draft somebody, that dude's ready to play and he's better than Alaric Jackson day one. That's all I want. Because if he's better than Alaric Jackson day one, then he fits in the Super Bowl window. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. Bill. All right, Bill, nice to hear from you. Rest in peace, my man, Roman Gabriel. Yes, rest in peace, Roman Gabriel. Hey, what did you guys think about that opening where I talked about how Gabriel was number 2 overall in 62, but the Rams drafted Terry Baker, number 1 overall in 63, and Bill Munson, number 7 overall in 64. It was almost like they were mirroring the futility of the early 2000s, right? It was just horrible drafting. Unbelievable. Tim Burns, no Bumblebee kits like Pitt. What? Help me with that one, man. I'll help you with that one. Willie Bowen, defensive pass rusher or offensive lineman is what the Rams should draft at 19. And I will not argue with you on that at all. I totally get where you're coming from on that one. All right, let's keep moving here. I'll come back to the questions. I kind of took the show out of order today. Let's go around the NFL and other places. Zach Wilson was traded from the Jets to the Broncos for basically a 6th round swap. I'm not, how can I say? I'm not all out on Zach Wilson. I think he's got a big time arm. And if the Rams had made that deal for him that was being speculated on earlier for a 7th round pick, I wouldn't have been upset. Let him sit and let Sean McVay work his magic with him. That would have been great. But basically Denver picked up a guy for free, essentially, and Sean Payton. And if they can develop him, then he really helps offset that burden that's Russell Wilson's dead cap money. And I will say this about Zach Wilson too. The Jets got ripped off in the Chiefs game last year, right? I think they still won 7 games. And that Chiefs game was very clear they got ripped off at. And Zach Wilson played behind a hideous offensive line. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't play. He played well. I'm not saying he played well, but I think there was a lot of bad stuff around him. I thought he took some growth steps last year. That second season, the year before, was a bit of a douchebag where he didn't take responsibility for the loss, but I think he grew up a little bit. So I think this is a good swing by Denver. It kind of reminds me when I was younger, there was a quarterback the Jets had that I liked better than Richard Todd. His name was Matt Robinson, played at Georgia. He was a 9th round pick of the Jets. And he had some good moments. And in fact, he gave Richard Todd, the heir apparent to Joe Namath, a little run for his money in 77 and 78. But the Jets, really smart. They used that and they sent Matt Robinson to the Denver Broncos. By 78, they'd had their Super Bowl run in 77 with Craig Morton. 78, they lost in the first round. It was a 34-10 to the Steelers in Pittsburgh. And they probably thought Craig Morton, heading into his 15th or 16th year, was getting old. and he ended up playing a couple more seasons, but the job was given to Matt Robinson, and he kind of flamed out really bad, and his career was never the same after that. But in that trade, the Jets sent Matt Robinson to Denver. They got journeyman backup Craig Penrose, but they also got a first-round pick and a second-round pick in 1980 for Matt Robinson, a ninth-round pick. And that was Jets to the Broncos. And so I thought that was a really interesting deal. And that's what Zach Wilson being traded today reminded me of. Of course, the Jets butchered it. They sent that 20th overall pick to the 49ers, along with their 13th overall pick, to move up to the second spot of the 1980 draft. And who did they take? They took Johnny Lamb Jones. And that's why the Jets are the Jets, right? I just wanted to share that one. One thing we didn't share either was J.K. Dobbins signing with the Chargers. It's like rehab for former Ravens. I can't play for John, so I'll play for Jim. And J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, new physical approach. Chargers, I was sharing with the Mid-Valley guys, Mid-Valley sports guys who were in the room covering the Chargers. First time in my life, probably since the days of Air Coryell in its prime, first time I've been really interested in seeing how the Chargers do. Moving on here, rested or not, Lakers didn't look too good in Denver. Well, they hung with them for a while, but I guess Joker's just really good. All right. If you've ever looked at a draft chart, okay, and I thought it was interesting because you can find a draft chart anywhere on the web. If you ever looked at a draft chart, I think RamsWire posted one today or last week or somewhere in when I saw it. But I went down and I wrote down what a draft chart is, something that Jimmy Johnson came up with, and everyone's kind of varied with it a little bit. But every draft pick has a certain amount of points. First round picks are like high, like 250 or something like that. The Rams pick is 278. It's worth 278 points. Their second round pick at 52 is worth 109, right? And then so on until finally you get to the seventh round, 254. It's worth 1 point. And so what I did, I thought was kind of interesting, is I went to the NFL Mock Draft Network, and all you got to do is start your draft, and then they'll throw trades at you. So I thought it was interesting. And what you should do is you watch the draft and you watch this week develop, is go and download on your computer screen one of these draft charts that has a point value to each draft pick. And when you see a trade made, like 2 second rounders for a first, see if it matches up point value wise. Okay. So I went to the NFL Draft Network and I started a draft, just a mock draft, just to see, right? And this was a weird draft, algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And I had a chance to take Jared Verse. And instead I looked at the trade offers. And so I had 6 trade offers from teams for that 19th pick. That's what the computer generated. And it had the New Orleans Saints offering me a second rounder, a fifth rounder, and a sixth rounder. And the sum total of that draft of those picks were 149 points. So a second rounder, fifth rounder, and sixth rounder was not equal to the 19th overall pick the Rams had at 278. Now, one of the best ones I saw, not the best, had the Steelers offering me third round, fourth round, sixth round, 2 sixth rounds, and a second round pick in 2025. It was all worth 200 points for the 19th overall pick, but that 19th overall pick's worth 278 points. Even that didn't come out to be enough. The Panthers offered me pick number 33 this year, and then in 2025, a third, a fourth, and a sixth. Now that came out to 292. The Jaguars offered a third round pick, a fourth round pick, and a sixth round pick, and in 2025, a second and a sixth. That just seemed outrageous, but that only came up to 195. Now, the one that was interesting was the one the Lions supposedly offered to move up from number 29 to 19. They offered us the 29th pick, the 61st pick, and the 7th pick this year, and that came up to 289. And so that's the one I would have taken, but that just gives you an idea. We haven't talked about it much, and we probably should have, is go just type in on Google images, say draft chart, and they'll give you a draft chart. And the one on RamsWire shows this year's slots, right? And so you can see who has what picks where and everything. It's very interesting. And but keep it handy so when you see these trades, because the Rams are always moving back. and see if it matches up point-wise. I know Steve Ramirez, I can remember from last year, was pretty good about that. And then do it in the second round and the sixth round or the third round as you see the trade offers. It really draws you in. Okay. So let's keep moving along here real quick. New players that the Rams added that they've spoken to. I talked about Norrell Pollard, defensive tackle, Georgia Tech. They say he feels like a UDFA or a late third day pick. Another pick that came up was a cornerback named Gabe Judy Lally out of Tennessee. They said he feels like a second day pick. And Avery Jones is another one name that popped up on a couple of the message boards. I think everyone shares the information, right? So, if Rumors has it, so does Rams Wire, so does Turf Show Times, so does Walter Football. All these different sites have who the interviews belong to. And it showed the Rams interested in Avery Jones. He's an interior defensive lineman. He's projected as a day 3 guy, UDFA. And I only throw it up there is because when that madness starts after the draft for the undrafted free agents, that's when you want to be familiar with some of these names that the Rams signed. Some names popped up last year on their practice squad that they had been interested in. Wanted to throw that out there. Okay, real quick before we get back to the questions. On this day in 1990, the Rams drafted center Bernd Bostic. He wasn't great. He was competent, and he was the Rams center for about 6 seasons. He replaced Doug Smith and kind of broke the chain of Ken Iman, Rick Saul, Doug Smith of Pro Bowl centers for the Rams that lasted close to 30 years. Bostic was out of Washington. Good center, not anything to write home about, but he did the job. In 1995, the 6th overall pick, the Rams took Kevin Carter. The Rams won a Super Bowl. And on this day in 2010, the Rams drafted Sam Bradford, and we know how that worked out. Tomorrow, since we're not on the air, it's the birthday of Greg Meisner. He was the first of those Rams defensive tackles out of Pittsburgh. He spent 11 years in the NFL, 8 with the Rams, and he played nose tackle, and he was good. He was okay. Yeah, to be in the NFL that long, 8 years for the Rams, was a starter most of the time. Good for him. He played at about 260, and that's kind of funny for a nose tackle, right? But Greg Meisner, followed by Sean Gilbert, followed by Aaron Donald. They do love those interior defenders from Pittsburgh. Okay, let's get those things out of the way there, and let's take a look at what else is on the line here with questions. Tim Burns, mustard yellow made them look like Saturday Night Live Bumblebee skits. Goff's game versus KC, they wore the Bumblebee unis, like Steeler fan Rob's teams in the 60s. Yeah, but you let that slide because that Chiefs Rams game was great, right? So you let it slide. I wasn't a fan of those uniforms either, but you let it slide because that was one of the greatest regular season games in history. I didn't have fun while I was watching it. I was yelling a lot while I was watching it. My favorite game is a 58-0 Ram win. Those are the games I like. The games that get my blood pressure up, they do make me stress. Let's see here. Tim Burns, Kobe Turner smashed the national anthem. Wow. Kobe Turner, man, he's building a name for himself. I just hope he doesn't trade his passion for glory, right? As Rocky sang, or was that his brother? We want to make sure he doesn't have any kind of sophomore slump. We can't afford to have Kobe Turner have a sophomore slump. Tim Burns, I saw an article saying Diggs to the Rams. No way. I don't want Stephon Diggs. Would you want? I don't want Stephon Diggs. The guy's washed right now. I don't want Stephon Diggs. I think he's washed. I don't think he's a number 1 receiver. I think he's barely a 2. Tim Burns, let's see. Bill, I've had my full of mock drafts. Can't wait for the Reed thing. Yeah, I agree, especially when they just kind of keep repeating stuff. And but I do like it to have a pulse because sometimes names pop up. Like some of those names that Nehemiah Pitchett that Burns just threw at us, because I like to know, right? I want to know who's around and stuff. I know that's kind of nerdish on my part, but I want to know who's there second and third day. So I just love seeing names that are floated. Let's see. Tim Burns, old people in altitude kills Lakers' chances. Sucked air the whole third quarter. They sure did, didn't they? And Joker's just a great basketball player. Manuel, for us to move up to 6, it's 1983, and that's not 1983, but it's the 83rd overall pick, and the first round next year. That's right. That's probably what it is. And whoever that pick is, That dude better be on the field. That dude better be contributing. And, that's the thing, right? He better be on the field. He better be contributing to this present Super Bowl window, right? And if not, they could be okay and not play. They could be okay in 4 years. Then it's a bust, because in 4 years, I don't know if we've got a Super Bowl window, but we've got a Super Bowl window right now. The Seahawks have stepped back. They didn't get a quarterback when they should have, and they're just kind of treading water right now when they should have gone to that next level. The 49ers, their butts were saved because the NFL bumped that salary cap up by 30 million, but they still got problems of their own. They have pass rush problems. They got problems on that defense, and they also got problems on that offense because Ayuk wants his money, and he's not going to play ball. It doesn't sound like he's playing ball. And I sure hope they keep him. I sure hope they give him a fat contract, and I sure hope they put themselves behind the 8 ball, because that team is aging. And I think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're as much of a contender as they were last year. The teams that scare me right now, that's why we got to be good right now, to take advantage of right now, Green Bay and Detroit. Green Bay and Detroit. Everyone's going to fall in love with Chicago, but that's going to be hit and miss this year. And if the new regime in Washington straightens things out, the Taxkins could be coming about in a couple of years. I'm not a big believer in Philadelphia. I'm not a believer in Jalen Hurts. And so the Rams window is now, and I want somebody that's going to contribute right now. USA expat, my old favorite undrafted free agent, Norwood Van. I high-fived Norwood Van. I'm tight with the guy. I was actually in the stadium, preseason game, Cardinals. I got my hand out, and Norwood Van high-fived me. How cool is that, huh? How cool is that, USA expat? Willie Bowen. Tim, that is the killer bees. Okay. Manuel Correa. It's Joe Alt. What you're saying to me is it's going to be Joe Alt. They're going to make the deal for Joe Alt. Okay. If it's Joe Alt, then he better play day one at left tackle. All right. Now, can you give a little, how do I say this in a polite way? Okay, we're at the 42-minute mark. Got about 8 minutes left. Can you give a little love and a little patience to Ram fans that saw Jason Smith drafted 2nd overall in 2009? Can you give a little love and patience to Ram fans who saw Greg Robinson drafted 2nd overall in 2014? Can you extend a little grace to Ram fans who saw Alex Barron drafted 19th overall? I mean, we have just kiboshed all these high picks. And I know, McSneed, or at least Sneed, it wasn't McSneed at the time. Sneed, young GM, maybe he's learned from his mistakes, misread the tea leaves on Greg Robinson, didn't he? And so that's why it's like, oh man, that's just risky. We know what we got, money in the hand with Alaric Jackson. And I understand you can be better, you can get better, but you got to be darn sure if you're giving up 2 number ones and the 83rd pick this year for that left tackle. You better be so absolutely sure. Now, if they do it, then think about our offensive line. You still got Havenstein at right tackle, but you still got Dotson, Avila, Jonah Jackson, and then if it is Joe Alt, you got that everyone else from Havenstein to the left over, everyone's locked up during the Super Bowl window. But man, I'm just a little nervous. I just get a little nervous when the Rams are drafting tackles. Bobby Evans was supposed to be, one of those picks, right? And he wasn't even Joe Noteboom, and he can't even carry Joe Noteboom's jockstrap. Okay, Manuel Correa, yes. I didn't like any of those picks before they took them. Tim Burns, Joe Alt, only player I consider moving up for, but I stick with my original of a trade down and get a 2nd, 4, and 5. That's where my heart is too. My heart is move back. If the Lions actually want to give you pick number 29 and pick number 61, preach, man. I'm all in. I'm all in for that. And I know, fortune, what does it say? Fortune favors the foolish. Like if you're just going to take a big swing stuff, I get it. And you know what? If it works, then I'm happy to say Joe T sucks and, praise McSneed. But man, just gun shy on some of these tackles sometimes. If someone fell to us at 19, it was Fuaga, Fashiono, one of those guys, or Fontenot. It's like it's the F draft for for tackles this year. If it's one of those guys that fall to us at 19, okay. Little suspect about Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma because of my Bobby Evans hangover, but yeah, that's my part I'm afraid of. And it's funny, I don't have those same fears about moving up to 12 or 13 or 11 for Jared Verse or Dallas Turner. And so that is interesting how we all have our things that we do. Let's see. Willie Bowen, Graham Burton, and Jackson Powers are draft prospects for the Rams in the later rounds at offensive line. You know, it would be great if those guys were there at 52. Because, again, I am not opposed to drafting an offensive lineman. I think you should draft one every year right there in the first 100. Always build it up, build it up, build it up, build it up. But yeah, no, so I can see that definitely. Graham Burton, that guy's really climbed the ladder in this draft, right? The guy from Duke, there was talk about him. He's an inside guy, but there's talk about him now. That guy can also play tackle and stuff, and so real flexible. Steve Ramirez, let me know what you're thinking, Steve. Tim Burns, more chances for a hit with more good choices this year. 14 draft picks last year, 6 of them were hits. I'm counting Davis Allen as a hit, and of course Ethan Evans, the punter, and stuff. So yeah, 6 hits last year in the draft. That's what I'm saying. Out of 14. Steve Ramirez, I'm also weary of taking that O-line. Okay, that high. Odunze, yes, but no alt. Okay, Steve, I get you what you're saying, and I'm kind of there with you on that one. I don't want to go too high for Odunze. I think something the Rams probably want to keep their cards to their close to their vest. And if Odunze drops to the 9 range, then maybe you make your move. Alt, I think might be, but no alt. I think it might be Nix at 19 if he's there. Yeah, I get it. I've talked about it. We've talked about it too. My only issue with that is, does Nix help us this year, right? Because if Stafford gets hurt, it's going to be Jimmy G. And I understand we're playing the long game here, but this is a serious Super Bowl window for the next 2 seasons, possibly 3. And so yeah, I like Bo Nix. Can I wait for Bo Nix? Will Bo Nix wait for us, right? Wait for me, right? Kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you'll wait for me, Bo Nix, and we'll take you at 52. If you can do that, then okay. Manuel Correa, Steelers want Jackson, Niners like Barton. Yeah, I've heard that. I think that's where the Steelers are at. The 49ers need help on that right side. Well, they're going to need help on the left side too. Trent Williams is getting old. I keep prematurely burying him every year, and the guy just keeps playing at the top of his game. But McKivitz at right tackle is weak, and they got their own struggles coming up the middle. So they got problems with that offensive line, and they could go for the Duke guy if he's there, or Guyton or whoever. They really do need to improve. Jackson Powers. What is it? Jackson Powers? Yeah, Powers Jackson. Yeah, that guy. That guy's a beast, and I wouldn't mind having him either. But that's kind of just I don't know if he's in the cards for the Rams this time around. Okay, what else we got here? I'm just checking my notes to see if I missed anything. I threw a bunch of notes on the board. And did you guys find it fascinating? The Rams went from 1964 to 2010 without drafting a quarterback in the first round. That's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Let's see what else we got here. Looking at this, I talked about Zach Robinson. I talked about Matt Robinson. Talked about J.K. Brown. Okay, talked about that. Okay, I think we did. The 2 top names that always appear in all the mock drafts that we've looked at, the 2 top names that appear going to the Rams, it's Latu Latu, UCLA, and then Byron Murphy. And, of course, Murphy picked up steam after Aaron Donald retired. And I think I told everybody that through the draft, I'm keeping Aaron Donald's name in pencil. I'm getting close to putting it in ink. That I just didn't believe he would. He's really going to retire when the window for the Super Bowl is open. Manuel Correa. I post my email every time, bro. I do. I post it every time. It's right there. jtbank1964@yahoo.com. That's my email. There it is. Email, please. This time I will get it. Right there. jtbank1964 at yahoo.com. Let me see. Is that right? Let's see. I want to make sure I got it right. JT Bank 1964 at yahoo.com. Boom. There we go. All right. Make sure you guys get that. All right. I think we're closing in on the 50-minute mark. We have just hit 50 minutes. We will be live Thursday. We'll be live Wednesday. Any mock drafts you have, send it to me. I keep them present. And if you hit a draft pick in the slot that it's taken, like if you say Talisi Fuaga at number 19 and the Rams take him at 19, I'll give you 5 points. If you say Talisi Fuaga and he's drafted by the Rams at 17 because they moved up, I'll give you 3 points, right? If you say Talisi Fuaga and for some reason he's drafted in the 5th round, I'll give you 1 point. And whoever collects the most points, I'll send you a Kistler Law mug. I'll send you a Rams, not a Rams book. I'll send you a Joe T book for free and all that and stuff, and we'll have fun. But send me your mock drafts; it'll be fun. And your final mock drafts for Wednesday, and then right when the draft ends on Thursday night, I'll come on the air here in the studio and not in this place here with my brick wall. And you'll see me. I'll come on. We'll talk about 15 minutes to 20 minutes on everything that happened day 1 and what could be happening in day 2. It's probably likely, I could see the Rams kind of screwing up the party and trading out of the first round, right? It's just, it would be so Ram-like to do. And then on Friday, we'll do the same. And then on Saturday, if Thursday and Friday seem to have worked out well, we'll do it on Saturday. And honestly, as a Ram fan, I'm conditioned to enjoy the second and third day more than the first day because, for 8 years, we haven't taken anybody in the first round. And the truth is, I don't like the first round as much. I hate the red carpet stuff. I just, and the other thing you guys are going to really not like, maybe you won't like it about me. I really don't like the whole, he's playing for his grandma who passed away 6 years ago and she raised him and she had 3 eyes and 4 legs and he loves her. I really don't, I don't need any more sob stories, right? I don't need, everyone's overcome something, right? And the stuff we've all overcome in our own lives really weighs us down. And I don't want to be insensitive, but they always try to, it feels like forced emotionalism, right? That I got to participate in crying with everybody because they're telling us this is a great story. And they're all great stories. There's been great sacrifice in all the parts of these players. And so I'm a little hardened when they tell me about the poor kid grew up, with no shoes, no socks, and didn't learn how to play football until he was 25, that kind of stuff. I thought the Byron Young story last year of him working at the Dollar Tree, it's interesting, but it didn't make me want to draft him anymore, other than this guy's a hard worker, right? That's all I wanted to say. Willie Bowen, Latu for the Rams. I'm at work. Have a nice night. Thank you, Mr. Korea. Same here, 2nd and 3rd round for me. Burns, Rams picked a person for his sexuality. There was a lot of pressure on that Michael Sam draft pick. There was a lot of pressure. They were in St. Louis, Missouri. He played at Missouri. And so there was a lot of pressure there. And the truth was the kid botched it. His pro day, all of his stuff, he did not look good. He just did not look good. And I think the Rams drafted him because they were probably compelled to draft him. Look where they drafted him. Was it 7th round, 6th round? He had 2 sacks that preseason, and the NFL Network, would race away just to try to get a picture they showed every sack, and they were rah-rahing it and everything. And Rich Eisen's just kind of a KBM guy, right? It's time for the NFL to do this. And I even had some coaches say it's time. And it's like, were you saying the same thing about Jackson Jeffcoat? Jackson Jeffcoat at Texas had a great college career, but he went undrafted. He was in the Big 12 at the time. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't get drafted. And why wasn't anyone arguing for Jackson Jeffcoat? But we know why they were arguing for Michael Sam. And he got beat out by Ethan Westbrook. And I'll give credit to Snead and Fisher. They gave Sam his shot, and he could have linked anywhere else, and he didn't do it. Went up to Canada, flamed out, no pun intended. And he didn't make it. He wasn't good enough. And I don't know if he had the drive. And so, yeah, too bad. There's guys like Ethan Westbrook, who's still making a living playing in the UFL, that beat him out fair and square. And so, I really hate it when the NFL does that kind of stuff. It's just this, again, you can do these kind of things when you have no competition and stuff. So, yeah, anyway, yeah. And honestly, if Sam would have produced 15 sacks a year, I wouldn't have cared, because I'm kind of like not building a church board here. I'm kind of watching my football team, right? And if he could have produced 15 to 10 sacks a year for 5 years, then okay, I'll dance. That's cool. He can be whatever he wants to be, right? Just don't bring it onto the field. Just play football. But he couldn't. He just wasn't good enough. And I think everybody knew that. And of course, the whole coming out thing raised the profile. And I think the Rams were forced into drafting him since they were the local team. There you go. And then Manuel Correa, I just want Jonah Ellis and I'm happy. Okay. I will pop some Martinelli's, Manuel, when the Rams draft Jonah Ellis, or even Braylon Trice. Okay. I'll drink some ginger ale for that one. And then Tim Burns, puny though. Okay. All right. I think I know what that means. All right, guys. Thank you for sticking it out, man. You guys were great. I'm going to let you go, and we will see you. We will see you on Wednesday. God bless. Take care.